Genesis chapter 1 is not seeking to answer the question, how long did God take to create? How did God create? What process did God use to create? It is silent. Genesis does not answer the question, what process did God use to create? What does Genesis 1 answer? It answers the question, who created? It says, in the beginning God, not in the beginning hydrogen, which is radically different from the creation account taught by many people here at this fine university. And the second question it answers is, why did God create? What's the purpose of God making us? But in answer to the question, how did God create? What process did God use to create? It's not there.
One of the things that theory of evolution says is that humans came from apes.
Yeah.
And my understanding of what's written in the Bible is that humans were created in the image of God. Does that mean that we were created separately from apes, or is that a contradiction, or just if you could?
Bottom line is, the Bible teaches you're not an ape. You're a human being created in the image of God. Did God use apes to create people? I don't know. But I can promise you, nobody has proven that. It's a theory. It's got a little bit of evidence to support it, but I sure would underline little. I think it's highly questionable. You give me solid evidence for it, and I'll accept it.
So the idea of macroevolution versus microevolution, then?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
I think there's a ton of evidence for microevolution, but where's the evidence for macroevolution? This is what helps me understand that. Charles Darwin did a great job breeding pigeons. And Charles Darwin took those gray, ugly birds and breeded them to the point where they had magnificent displays of feathers. They were gorgeous. Then Darwin extrapolated. And this is where I think he made a big mistake. He extrapolated that if I can breed pigeons and change the way they look in just a few years, just think what could happen over thousands and millions of years. Well, I wish Charles Darwin would have gone to a breeding farm with a farmer who raises cattle, pigs, horses. I don't care how long you have. You're never going to be able to breed a horse coming from a pig, or a cow coming from a mule. Why? Because of the limits in the genetic pool. See, all Darwin did was take animals with the same genetic pool and emphasize certain qualities. But this whole idea that you can take an animal that has a limited genetic pool and breed a pig out of a horse, it's impossible because of the limits of the genetic pool. So that would be an example of a question that I would have for someone who would insist we came from apes who came from fish. Really? Is that really supported by a lot of evidence? I have not seen that evidence yet. But microevolution? Tons of evidence to support microevolution. So obviously microevolution occurs. Macro? Wow. It seems to me there's an agenda behind almost every person I've talked to who insists about macroevolution being true. And that agenda is to justify their atheism. That's scary, because that's intellectually dishonest. The question is, what does the evidence point to? And if the evidence points to macroevolution being true, great. But if there's no evidence to really support it, I'm not going to believe it just because I want to justify my philosophy.